The lecture hall buzzed with chatter as students packed their bags, shoving notebooks into backpacks and rushing toward the exit. Among them was Ethan Mercer, a tall, confident economics major known across campus for his quick wit and smug one-liners. He lived for debates, always ready with a counterpoint, and always convinced he'd won. Trailing behind him, balancing an armful of thick sociology books, was Clara Diaz. Her sharp tongue and relentless determination made her a formidable presence in class. She had little patience for Ethan's casual dismissal of social issues, especially gender equality, which he treated as nothing more than an overblown talking point. That day, their argument spilled into the hallway. "You make it sound like women are navigating some war zone every day," Ethan said, shaking his head with a half-smile. "But honestly, it can't be that different. People exaggerate." Clara froze mid-step. She turned slowly, eyes narrowing. "You really think walking through life as a woman is no different than what you've got now? The catcalls, the constant judgment, the pressure to look perfect? You think it's just whining?" Ethan smirked. "Exactly. You all make it dramatic. I mean, I've got female friends and they're fine." The look Clara gave him could have melted steel. She dropped her books onto a bench with a loud thud. "Fine. Prove it." Ethan blinked. "Prove it? Yeah. You like challenges, don't you?" Clara's lips curved into a knowing grin. "So here's one. 30 days. You live as a woman. Not just for laughs, you commit. Clothing, voice, social life, everything. And when you realize you were wrong, you'll stand on the quad and admit it." Ethan laughed, expecting her to back down, but Clara didn't flinch. "And if I don't break?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "Then I'll admit I misjudged you," Clara replied. "And I'll volunteer as your research assistant for your senior project." That got his attention. Ethan wanted that project to shine, and Clara's research skills were legendary. The deal tempted him. He hesitated only a moment before grinning. "You're on. 30 days. Piece of cake." Clara's grin widened. "Careful, Mercer. You might just find cake tastes different when you're eating it in heels." The next evening, Ethan knocked nervously on Clara's apartment door. She opened it with a mischievous sparkle in her eye and stepped aside, revealing what looked like an entire boutique spread across her living room, dresses draped over chairs, boxes of shoes stacked high, and an intimidating lineup of cosmetics on the table. "You weren't kidding," Ethan muttered, stepping inside. Clara clasped her hands together dramatically. "Welcome to day 1 of your transformation, Elena." "Elena?" Ethan frowned. "That's the name you picked?" "No, that's the name you picked," Clara corrected. "Go on. Choose something. Every woman needs a name she owns." For the first time, Ethan felt his bravado wobble. The idea of taking on a whole new name, a new identity, unsettled him more than he wanted to admit. Finally, he sighed. "Fine. Elena, then." Clara's grin turned triumphant. "Perfect. Let's get started." What followed was chaos. The bra clasps were impossible. The pantyhose tore on his first attempt. The skirt felt strange, airy, exposing. And when Clara slid a pair of modest heels toward him, Ethan nearly toppled over the moment he stood up. Clara was merciless with her commentary. "Keep your knees together when you sit. Stop slouching. Shorter steps, Elena, you're not stomping through a football field." Makeup was even worse. Ethan jabbed himself with mascara, sneezed mid-powder, and complained so loudly the neighbors probably heard. But when Clara finally spun him toward the mirror, he froze. The reflection staring back at him was startling. The harsh lines of his face softened with foundation, the clip in hair framing his jawline. He wasn't exactly unrecognizable, but the shift was enough to make his stomach twist. For a second, he couldn't look away. "Not bad," Clara said, arms crossed. "With some practice, you might actually pass." Ethan swallowed hard. This is surreal. Good, Clara said with a wicked smile. Because tonight, you're going out as Elena. Elena's heart pounded as she stood in front of Clara's mirror, tugging nervously at the hem of her borrowed skirt. The heels wobbled under her, and every swipe of makeup felt like it screamed imposter. She wanted to laugh the whole thing off, but Clara wasn't giving her that out. Clara adjusted the strap of Elena's handbag and handed it to her. Confidence. That's the trick. If you act like you belong, people will believe it. Clara, this is ridiculous, Elena muttered. I look like someone at a costume party. No, Clara said firmly. You look like a woman learning her place in the world. Which is exactly the point. She grabbed her own jacket and keys. Come on. Dinner's waiting. The two stepped into the cool night air, campus glowing with lamplight. Each click of Elena's heels on the sidewalk echoed louder than thunder in her ears. She tugged her jacket tighter, fighting the urge to hunch her shoulders. A pair of students passed by, glancing at her with fleeting curiosity. Elena's stomach dropped. Were they staring? Could they tell? Relax your shoulders, Clara whispered. And stop staring at the ground. Hold your head high. Elena forced herself to straighten, though it felt unnatural. How do women do this all the time? She thought, the weight of every eye on her back. They arrived at a cozy cafe off campus. Clara spoke smoothly to the hostess, table for two, please. The hostess smiled warmly. Of course. Right this way, ladies. Elena's heart skipped. Ladies. For a moment, the word lodged in her chest. She didn't know if it thrilled or terrified her. At the table, she fumbled with the menu, hands trembling slightly. The waiter appeared, a polite smile in place, his tone gentler than she'd ever heard directed at her before. And for you, miss? He asked. Elena froze, caught between panic and awe. She mumbled an order, cheeks burning. The title lingered in her head like a bell that wouldn't stop ringing. Mississippi. Halfway through dinner, Clara leaned in. You should try using the restroom. That's part of the challenge. What? No way. Elena whispered harshly. Yes way, Clara said firmly. Women's room. That's yours now. With shaky hands, Elena rose, clutching her purse like a shield. She stood outside the door marked women for what felt like an eternity before pushing it open. Inside, two women were chatting in the mirror. Elena darted into a stall, heart-hammering, and stayed there longer than necessary. When she finally emerged to wash her hands, one of the women smiled. Cute earrings. Elena nearly jumped. She touched the earrings Clara had given her, forgotten until that moment. Thanks, she managed, voice higher than usual. Leaving the restroom, she felt both drained and oddly proud. She had passed a test she hadn't even known to fear. As they left the cafe, Elena spotted a group of men loitering near the door. She stiffened. Hey, gorgeous, one of them called, eyes raking over her. Why don't you ditch your friend and hang with us? Elena froze, a cocktail of fear and disgust rushing through her. She opened her mouth but no words came out. Clara stepped forward, eyes cold. Not interested, she said firmly, tugging Elena along. The men laughed, but didn't follow. Even so, Elena's heart raced until they were halfway down the block. Does that happen often? She asked, voice shaky. Clara's expression softened. More than you'd think. And sometimes, it doesn't end with a laugh. For the first time, Elena truly understood, this wasn't a game. This was reality for half the population. Every day, when they finally returned to Clara's apartment, Elena collapsed on the couch, exhausted. She kicked off the heels, rubbing her sore feet, her mind reeling. How do you do this every single day? She whispered. Clara sat beside her. We don't have a choice. But maybe after this month, you'll understand why we fight so hard for change. Elena stared at her reflection in the darkened window. The face looking back was strange, softer, but not unrecognizable. And yet, she felt different inside. "This is only day one," she muttered, almost to herself. Clara smiled faintly. "Exactly. Welcome to womanhood, Elena." The morning sun streamed through Clara's curtains as Elena sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the outfit laid out before her, a soft blouse, high-waisted jeans, and a light jacket. It wasn't flashy, but even the idea of stepping onto campus in it made her palms sweat. Clara sipped her coffee, eyeing her. "You're not backing out now, are you?" Elena shook her head. "No, but everyone's going to know. They'll laugh. Or worse." "That's the point," Clara replied gently. "You don't get to hide. You said you could handle anything, remember?" With a shaky breath, Elena pulled on the jeans, slipped into the blouse, and once again fought with the mascara wand until Clara rescued her with steady hands. When Elena finally looked in the mirror, the person staring back wasn't Ethan playing dress up. She looked like someone entirely new, nervous, yes, but also, possible. The campus buzzed with students heading to class. Elena walked beside Clara, heels clicking softly this time, flats, mercifully, not the torture devices from last night. Whispers followed. Some subtle, others not. "Is that Ethan?" someone muttered. "No way," another whispered, stifling a laugh. Elena's chest tightened, every muscle begging her to run back home. But Clara nudged her shoulder. "Head high. Keep walking." In the lecture hall, the professor barely batted an eye, addressing her as Miss Mercer when calling roll. The title sent a strange shiver down her spine. Half the class stared openly, some smirking, some confused, a few simply curious. Elena tried to focus on the notes in front of her, but every time she raised her hand to contribute, the professor overlooked her. Moments later, a male classmate repeated her point almost word for word, and the professor praised him. Clara caught her eye across the room and mouthed, "See?" Later, in a group assignment, Elena found herself talking less than usual. Every time she tried to suggest something, one of the guys talked over her. By the end, she had barely managed to get 2 sentences in. Leaving the classroom, she groaned. "I've never been ignored like that before." "Not once." Clara raised an eyebrow. "Welcome to Tuesday." The realization stung more than she expected. For the first time, she wondered how many times she had done the same thing without noticing.